so much. How's everybody doing? Have a great AI Agent Summit today. I want to do a shout out to Nebula Block and all the partners that have supported today. It's great to get up here on stage with Jarod, who works with Nebula Block closely, and we have a lot of synergies working at Chainlink with Nebula and Swan as well. So I'm joined up here by some wonderful minds in AI today, and we're just going to dive a little bit deeper into talent, tools, and training, and what does AI infrastructure workforce need. We already had kind of a pretty good intro there, but if we wanted to do about a 20, 30-second intro for everybody, starting here with Jarod, and move down the line.
Thanks a lot, Chris. I'm Jarod. I'm the co-founder of Nebula Block, and I'm in charge of the daily operation and everything.
My name is Zhang. I'm the head of a partnership at Tencent Cloud Americas.
My name is Ugo. I work as a customer engineer at Google.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lei Lei. I lead go-to-market at Kite AI. Kite AI is an AI layer 1 we launched on Avalanche. A bit of background on myself. I worked on Wall Street for over 10 years and came into the blockchain space about 5 years ago. Started more on the crypto institutional side, and then very excited to be more on the developer side. Most recently, I was head of business development at Near Foundation before joining Kite AI full-time.
Thank you guys for that. Just diving in here real quick with AI infrastructure and speaking in specifics about workforce. In 2025 and even beyond, what roles are most critical right now for the AI infrastructure workforce? And we'll start with you, Jarod.
Thanks, Chris. Actually, at Nebula Block, the AI workforce, involved from the definitely the AI, like architecting, the maintaining, and operating, and also scaling those talents. And at Nebula Block, we are actually have engineers who involved with the AI development, the data center infrastructure, the maintenance, and also regarding especially actually for the software engineers who has knowledge of the hardwares as well.
Okay, thank you. So I agree with that. I think it's just more about manpower. So like creators, builders, operators. So basically, we also have those people on site for infrastructure engineers, cloud architects, and ML ops engineers. So I think that's the most important part for the workforce for AI.
I agree with them. Thank you. Okay, I'm just kidding. So yeah, the workforce as it relates to AI is pretty unique, right? At the end of the day, you need to think about AI from a simple context. It's really about compute, storage, network. When you abstract all of the nuances within the entire ecosystem, right, it boils down to these three things, right? Compute, storage, network. And so when I think about the workforce, I think about it from these three contexts, right? First of all, you're always going to have somebody who's going to be responsible for design and architecting. You're always going to have somebody who's going to be responsible for data science and data engineering. You're always going to have somebody who's going to be responsible for the actual data centers that host your compute machines. You're going to have somebody who's responsible for networking. So the traditional roles still exist. The only difference is there's a twist and there's a nuance with AI. Does that make sense?
So Kite is focused on building a marketplace, settling on the blockchain. So in terms of the makeup of our team, we have about 20 people on the team and about 13 engineers, some of which are very focused on the data infra, making sure that the infrastructure stands. A lot of protocol engineers, because we're also building a custom-built L1, as well as a few core AI engineers who are working on developing the agents, models, and then the business side. So, I think we're always looking at different tools to make our productivity higher, but hopefully I still have a job soon, so.
We have a really good mix on this panel of, Web 2.5, Web 2, Web 3 in here. We have Google and Tencent Cloud. We have Nebula Block and Kite AI. So we have varying ideas and opinions on AI up here. So it's great to see that, you know, what you guys are doing, what you guys are building, and how it affects you in either a Web 2 or Web 3 space. And I know Ugo mentioned something about, you know, all of the standard jobs that there will always be out there that work for, you know, computing today and which will work for AI in the future. How do we ensure that over the next 10 years, though, as society and through education, that we're training these people for these roles specifically? Because, you know, prompt AI, you know, engineer right now is something that, you know, might exist 10 years from now. There's going to be roles that we don't even know exist today. How are we going to train people for roles that we really don't even like have any idea of what those roles even might be?
Great question. Okay, all right. I guess I had the mic, so I start first. All right. I think that's a brilliant question, actually. First of all, you know, well, we should never stop learning, right? Back to the university or any education system, the key question from my perspective, right, which is you always want to be focusing on the real problem, practical. And Chris, you're absolutely right. Actually, we're dealing a lot of challenges, which is we never know, or that concept never existed probably like 5 years ago or 3 years ago, right? But when we handling with the current challenge, and where some people that are thinking ahead and try to plan thinking, for example, nowadays we have lots of tools which is designed to make coding even smoother and more efficient, and for certain computing languages that, let's say maybe a year ago, who never think about like, you know, there's an AI agent that could help me to improve or optimize my coding procedure, right? So back to the education, yes, the fundamental is critical. And meanwhile, you know, if we're focusing on targeting on the education system more on the practical problem or real-time problem, or focusing on that, I think we're continuously to contribute back to this system and providing more and more reasonable expertise and knowledge and back to the future generations.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, so I'm just gonna add a little bit. I think this is gonna be a lifelong learning cycle. I think Chris was right. That, you know, something the technology we have today probably didn't exist six months ago, especially, you know, in AI, and probably will be replaced a week after. So I think we have to enhance our education system and training programs, you know, to teach our, you know, I mean, I'll say the younger generation or something, you know, like to learn something about tomorrow, the future. Don't just focus on today, because I think it will be, you know, replaced and changed really, really fast in a short period of time.
Yeah, that's a great question. Prompt engineering. Anyone here ever done Google search? Have you ever searched for anything on Google before? That's
Only one hand?
Just one person? Okay. Everybody here has done prompt engineering, whether you like it or not, right? It's just the fancy buzzword we create over time, right? You've been prompting for a while. The only difference is now you're prompting with a chat mechanism that has some context around training data, right? But when I think about the education system, I think about the foundation of the problem, right? The foundational systems that provides the context for individuals to be successful. If you try to teach current context of AI that is constantly changing, you're going to have a system where we're constantly trying to approve curriculums. You're going to have a system where it's just so fast paced for you to catch up with what's happening in AI. The way I think about it is AI needs to be, the education system needs to be open sourced, right? And when I say open sourced, don't call the government here, but the context here is you're going to have to rely on tools that are non-traditional to be able to solve the education system itself. You're not going to be able to solve the problem by trying to fix the education system. You're going to solve the problem by allowing and creating other channels to learn about the technology. Because, like I said, it's happening really fast. We've been prompting for a long time. The only difference is the context now. So my take is the education system will never catch up with the pace of AI. It's never going to catch up. And I think we need to go beyond trying to solve that problem to think about how do we ensure that people are learning and understanding that the traditional systems may not just be the only option to learn?
From my point of view, I think it's really important to have practical experience. So I know that a lot of these big companies like Anthropic, Google, whatnot, have started partnering with universities to offer more hands-on experience and also like actual, practically what can different students build. From our point of view, I think another great way is basically we do go to a lot of hackathons where we see lots of college blockchain, club students, or there's a lot of AI hackathons which are more focused on AI developers, and see lots of young talent. And I think it's a really practical way to basically, enter into these competitions and build specific tools or specific things that a lot of the companies or projects out there are having. So I think all of those things is a good way to really reinforce the learning in both the AI and blockchain space. And one thing I forgot to plug earlier is we are actually hiring blockchain engineers and AI engineers and AI product people. So if anyone's interested, feel free to talk to me.
And per Ugo, if you just put a prompt AI engineer in your resume, I've Google searched, so yeah.
So you qualify. yeah, you're gonna pass. Yeah.
Great. And one piece keeps coming up in these answers, and that's just tooling. And tooling is with us, for the long haul now. It's synonymous. AI agents and tooling is one. We're always chasing the newest tools, the best tools, what's out there. There's always something new coming out. But how do you guys distinguish what's trend-based hype versus something that can you really build an infrastructure on long-term in terms of tooling? And when you look for tools, what do you look for in making sure that what you're selecting to use as your tool is going to be something that works with yourself or your company for a long time going forward?
Go ahead. Do you want me to start? Oh boy. Okay. So when I think about tooling, I went to school many years back, right? So over 2 decades ago. The reality is tooling is always going to change, right? In my previous life, I used to be a site reliability engineer. I did a lot of production engineering. I did a lot of DevOps. I did a lot of developer kind of work before I became an architect. And here's the thing. The tools are always going to be there. And you're always going to have 10 different ways to do a simple thing. The way I always like to think about it is more of a reverse engineering concept, which is what problem am I trying to solve? Right, so I start with a problem and I walk backwards to figure out what tool fits that problem. I really don't start with a tool, so I'm not going to say, hey, I want to do some training, for example, or I want to do some inference, for example, and I just start to figure out the right tool. I always start with what problem am I trying to solve and what tool fits or gives the best plugins to allow me to do that. So when I think about tooling, my typical mindset is, and I remember when we used to have like a lot of challenge within the engineering team around, hey, what tool do we use? Everybody has a preference, and that's always the problem. Everybody has a preference. At some point, I wanted to use Jenkins. At some point, I wanted to do stuff with Circle CI, and somebody else wanted to use Ansible, and somebody else wanted to use Kubernetes, or Terraform. The tools will always be there, but then when you start to think about, I'm trying to solve a problem that has to do with infrastructure as code, for example, what tool gives me the concept around security? What tool gives me policy management? What tool gives me that idempotent nature of my infrastructure? If I walk backwards from there, I get to figure out the tool that solves the problem. Who wants to go next?
They all agree with you.
Yeah, I think regarding the tools, from my past several decades experience as an engineer, as a student, even as a business owner, I find out a lot of tools, something I love, I like. There's certain things that I think the top one the top one value I pick, which is, easy to use, or again, practical. And there's a lot of amazing tools out there, but they're over-engineered. They're not become enforcement anymore. They become kind of like a technical debt, which is a learning circle, or what we call entry barrier is too high, and the cost, even that technology is fantastic, can achieve really like something sky high, but however, since it's so hard to use and the cost, not like a majority can adapt to it. That here, another thing I want to mention about the Nebula Block here, everyone here joined this summit, we all know AI right now is changing this world somehow, right? And a lot of people, they want to say, okay, I want to get involved with AI. And then the first thing you cannot avoid, which is computing powers. If you really want to explore the true beauty of AI, you have to understand at least the instances, the GPU, the computing powers. And traditionally, a lot of major clouds, they make those technologies, those powerful technologies, too hard, too complicated to deploy, to adapt, and make the majority. I'm talking the majority, not the tech genius, those people, and get far away, from our regular person, their life. So here, our goal, which is we want to open the door of AI to everyone and to simplify it and lower the entry barriers of how to, for example, to deploy a GPU, or even providing the suitable information to the people who want to adapt to their most suitable AI solution to their real problem. That's how I define as a useful tool, or a tool with a truly life, can supporting, to make the real change.
Okay, I'll add a little bit, because I'm the only non-engineering person here, so I'm in charge of business. So I'll say something about from the business perspective. So I think tooling, as our expert mentioned, like easy to use. I think that's very important. As well, I think you have to be open to to be integrated with different platforms. So I like what I presented earlier today. So we have a real-time communication solution. So when this AI is booming, so we started adding features into it. So basically, is to try to, that's a tool. So we made it really simple to integrate with your platform, as well as open to any large language models or AI models, speech services you want to use, your own choice. So that's kind of like. It's like advice, not advice. I think to tools or say tools creators, when you create a tool, you have to make sure that your creativity matches the usability. So it needs to be people can use it, and then easy to use. Now make it too complex. If an expert is struggling to using your tools, then I think you failed.
Sure. On the subject of tools, I think it's a lot of trial and error. So when I was at Near Foundation, we had somebody run a team called Special Projects, and the goal was to basically try all these AI tools. And what we found was that a lot were over-automated. So for example, we had like a CRM, customer relationship management system that most companies have, and basically try to use some AI tools to make it much more automated, and thought that it could increase productivity. But it turned out that it was just, made our lives actually more difficult, because we had to undo a lot of the things that it had done. Similarly, because Near being a large ecosystem with grants, we also try to have these grant agents to kind of automate who we should select. And similarly, I think some of it worked well, but others we found out that you still need a human in the loop. So I think it's a lot of trial and error. Here at Kite, I think what was very inspirational is we had a call with a Google DeepMind team, and they showed us that they are producing production-ready products in 3 days using Replit and Cursor. And it was very, very astounding to us. And I think we took a lot of inspiration from that. Our CTO has now scheduled weekly meetings with the engineering product team to figure out how to become a lot more efficient. And there's a lot of, internal teach-ins also from the eng product side to the rest of the team who may have less of an AI background. And on the business side, we're also trying to find different tools that can really help productivity. So if anyone has good ideas, that would be all ears.
Thanks for that.
There's something called agent space. I'll talk to you about.
Oh, there we go. Talk about it now.
Okay. Sure. So think about this. A lot of companies struggle with two things. Most companies have data in silos. So you have data spread across multiple environments. So think about SharePoint, think about Google Docs, think about Slack, think about Jira, think about just the internal tools you require to get your job done. Part of what we thought about in Google is how do we, and every time I say Google, think about the fact that every tool we let out to the world, we actually use it internally. So there's what we call Google for Googlers, right? And that simply means we have our own internal search engine. And that's how we interact with all the data sources, the encyclopedia of data sources we have. Now, the mindset is you want to be able to create a level of abstraction across those data sources, right? You want to be able to have a tool that allows you to interact with all of these data sources. And every time you do a search, you're able to get information from all of these tools. So think about a scenario where I'm trying to understand a set of docs that reside in Google Drive, or I'm trying to get a set of docs that reside in SharePoint. What if I could do a search, and when I do that search, it gives me responses based off the docs from each of these locations, right? So that's the mindset around agent space. I could do internal search across multiple data sources, which we call connectors. Now, there is also a part of agent space where you can also think about building agents, right? And agents pretty much are helping you to automate your internal repetitive workflows, right? So on top of just doing search, I'm able to action every search. I'm able to action items that I need to be done. So if you're an engineer who work in a Scrum kind of setup or an Agile kind of setup, you understand Jira stories, right? You understand epics and all that stuff, right? Now, imagine if you had a scenario where, what if I want to create the entire pipeline that is required for a Jira story? So you tell me, hey, I work with my PM and he says, hey, I want you to develop this feature. And the feature requires a couple of things. It requires a Jira story. We don't use Jira, but it requires a Jira story. It also requires a Git repository. It requires an environment. Imagine a scenario where through a search box, I could tell the search box, in this context, agent space, or an agent within agent space, that, hey, I've just been assigned this feature. I want you to go ahead and create all of these requirements for these features. So it goes ahead, creates a Jira story, creates a Git repository. It spins up a Terraform, it takes a Terraform script, it spins up an environment for my feature. Now, all I did was just, through a chat bot, I just asked the question and gave it a request to get something done. And it spins up all of this environment. Now, if we factor that, if we take that back and think about what it will have taken to create all of this, imagine the time that is being saved just by doing that. Does that make sense?
That's huge. It's a bonus.
Okay.
We have a few minutes left here, and I was just going to pass the mic down and talk about what excites each of you the most in AI tooling coming up in the next few years, or breakthroughs or innovations. But I do just want to turn to the audience real quick and see if there's any questions anybody might have here. I don't know if we're doing questions today, but I think it's a great idea. You do? Yeah. Hop down. Interactive.
Thank you. My question is around AI compliance and governance. where do you think each of your companies are at in terms of AI compliance and governance, and how far do you think we need to get to have a comprehensive governance plan?
That's a very deep question. Okay. So I will start with saying that Google is very, very, very critical when it comes to governance, right? And I think from a company standpoint, and I'm always trying to be careful, but from a company standpoint, the reality is, if you can imagine how many years we've been spending just managing the world's data set, I think you can start to appreciate how much importance we build around privacy. The way privacy works internally is, just very briefly, is the fact that I cannot see anything about anyone, even with approval. So it's one of those scenarios where it's like, it's not just about need to know. It's like, you don't even know it exists, and so you can't even go near that data set, right? And again, I'll give you an example. As an engineer, I have no clue where our data centers are. It's also need to know, and I don't even know where they are. So if you ask me right now where are the data centers, I could tell you a region. So there's a US Central, but where is US Central? The point is, I think Google appreciates security and privacy at depth, and at the heart of everything we do is security.
U.S. Central's in Omaha, Nebraska.
Okay, so I want to talk something about Tencent Cloud, what we're doing. So I agree that was a really deep question. It's really hard to answer, but I just want to say, compliance or governance are super, super important to us. And then even during our internal meetings, we always point out this is something, especially for our solution team, product team, we have to focus on, not just governance, compliance, but also about ethics, like how we make AI technology equal to everyone, like fairness, and then we have to respect privacy, and then compliance, to be compliant in different regions. I believe because different regions, different countries will have different regulations. This is really, really complicated. So I think this industry, this technology is still kind of new, and we need to create more rules around the regulations. But what I can tell you is we're constantly working on that, to perfecting all of these. But I think it takes time to, for all of us to make it better. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. All right. As Nebula Block, even though we have access to over 100 locations globally, but we are proudly a Canadian-owned, Canadian-operating company, AI infrastructure company. So we're probably carry on the Canadian value and the Canadian ethics. And with all our identity, and even though with our partners, our clients, we will probably carry on our Canadian true value globally to represent Canada.
So we are SOC 2 compliant, and it's not easy, especially as a startup. We spent a lot of time getting the SOC 2 compliance because originally we focused a lot on different enterprise partners, so it was very important in terms of credibility and trust. And actually, we're working on building a Kite digital passport. It's more for agents. And the goal is to verify a lot of agent interactions, verify its attribution, how is that agent created, what data went into it, what was the model builders, and that can be tracked on chain. So those are things that I think are very important, especially for some of our key strategic enterprise partners on the payment side as well, because they want to unleash a lot of agents to their big consumer base, but they need a way to basically verify the interactions of those agents, and actually smart contracts is a great way to programmably have programmable logic. You can also test for performance, potentially resolve disputes, and there's early discussions we have with various partners that are looking to start thinking about like insurance as well.
Awesome, guys. Well, I think we're at time. I want to thank everybody that joined me today. I think all these guys deserve a standing ovation. It is the last panel of the day, so everybody clap. There we go. There we go. Thanks so much, guys.